Thursday, August 8th. Man, can you believe that? I swear it seems like this year is just flying by faster and faster the further we get into it. And I gotta say, I can't really complain too much about that because here where I live at in Southern California, we've been having some strange weather. And in case you guys didn't see a while back, we were had some earthquakes and things. A couple, oh gosh, what has that been? About a month ago now. And but it's just a little odd because things have been pretty crazy here. Like as far as our weather and everything, we've had a little more moisture this year than it seems like it usually is. It's been a little more humid. It's been a little cooler, and I gotta say, I absolutely love it. I cannot complain the least, like one little bit. So yeah. Again, thank you all for being here today. I do appreciate you guys being here. In case it's your first time here, I do talk a lot about comic books, movies, and even music on occasion. I do occasional giveaways as well. So make sure you're subscribed and click the little bell and all of that good stuff so you get notifications. And you know the deal, right? I'm sure you all know the deal. But yeah, also make sure you give this video a like, or you can even give it a dislike. That's all good. I don't really care that much about that. But let's see. We got Nerdy Blurb TV. Welcome, Ryan. Welcome to the stream. Appreciate you being here. He says, "What's up, Buttercup?" Nothing. Just chilling. Just here, getting ready to talk about some movies today. Going to be talking about I don't know. I guess just some of the favorite quotable movies. Like what are some of your favorite quotable movies out there? That you enjoy watching. I know there are a bunch of different movies out there that people like, and enjoy. Some that seem to be like cult classics. Some that just seem to be I don't know, movies that for some reason, whatever reason, seem to stand the test of time. And a lot of that usually has to do with some of the actors, some of the script writing, and things like that. Obviously, it always helps a good movie. But and sometimes I start to think about these great films, and it makes me wonder. It's because there are times when it seems like some of these great films that we quote so much, you go back and you watch them like, is this movie really that great, or is it just the lines are in it? Is like sometimes talking about the film is better than the film itself, if you know what I mean. But before I really get into all that chat, there is something that I wanted to talk about. Today really quick before we get here into all of that chat. Apparently it's been revealed that the writer, God, what is it, Giancarlo Esposito wants to be Marvel's Magneto. I just seen this story this morning, and it's kind of a rumor that's been going around anyway. I think for a little while that he was looking to be cast in a Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, which is no big deal. I mean, I know apparently we're getting the new Blade based on the fact that I guess they were probably planning on making one, but then apparently Mahershala Ali went to Kevin Feige and said, "Hey, bro, I want to be Blade," and they pretty much made it happen. So, but I do remember, and I don't really chase a whole lot of these stories around a whole lot. So, I did just happen to see this story this morning. It came up just on my news feed as I was scrolling some of the people talking about it, and so I decided to go ahead and look into this, and I guess we could go ahead and read this whole article for you if you'd like me to. But I'm not really into all that. I'm not really into all that. But what I do like is, they're changing Magneto character. If this gentleman does get cast in this role, um, the thing is I think that's something we kind of seen coming. There was talks, always been those talks, about the X-Men and the political lines that it draws, and basically it's allegory and everything, and being to like Malcolm X and things like that. And people have been, and Martin Luther King, and people have been predicting that, they're probably going to race change some of the characters in here, just modernize the characters and those kinds of things. And obviously everybody's going to have their feelings about those kinds of things as well. But altogether, I mean, this as far as any of the films I've ever seen this guy in, I didn't even actually go through a list. I just recognized this guy's face. He's a pretty good actor. And for me, that's all I really want. I know most of these films aren't ever really going to follow the comic books per se. They're always adapting them. They're not really ever taking the stories from the comic books and putting it directly to screen. And I'm fairly okay with that, mostly because you know a lot of things in a book or even in a comic book don't translate that well to screen. But I mean, if it was a direct adaptation of the book or the movie, and a lot of times books are for the most part, I mean, but they change things up. Is then it almost makes it seem like what's the point in seeing it then? Because then you know exactly what's going to happen. Now, when it comes to a book or a novel being adapted, I mean, that's one thing. Because I mean, most of those usually follow the general story, but some of them change it up too. And you always see that backlash just from fans and things like that in the first place, where people are like, hey, this isn't like the book. Um, so some things are constantly always changed in films like that. And some things it ends up being good things. Sometimes it ends up being to I guess you could say to a great detriment. So but again, I mean, I don't think for me, I don't know. I guess I don't really ever look for these stories to be directly, like, especially the comic book movies, to be directly adapted out there. Um, it would be nice. I mean, at least if they could hold true to the source material. You can still respect the source material and not have to do to go some of the great lengths that they do for some of these movies. Nerdy Blurb TV says, dude, I don't know what it is, but the movie Hot Rod is like a huge thing where I've not to mention my job. Oh yeah, Hot Rod is quoted every day and everywhere. Where do you get off? Yeah, Hot Rod. That is a good one. And it's been a while since I seen that movie, and Hot Rod is definitely one of those great movies out there. Um, I love the, like, what was it, like, the Footloose scene that they went and redid, and it was funny because I remember on the bonus features on that film, when you go in there and watch them, they actually have, like, they actually took and really broke down that scene, and Andy Samberg, they went out there and kind of really did a really great job um, mocking that film. And that, to me, that's something we'll get into here. Is That's something that a lot of these great comedies and just some of the great movies out there do anyways, pay homage to something else or make great reference to other things. Joseph Lennon says, what's up, man? Finally made it to stream. Yes, thank you for being here, Joseph. Nerdy Blurb says, with me and my bros, this probably the other guys and Pineapple Express. Yes, the other guys, man, I haven't watched that in a while. I think I've only seen that movie like 3 times. But yeah, that movie is hilarious. Cause yeah, that's the one at the very beginning. Like, God, who is it? The Rock, and I can't remember who was it? Samuel L. Jackson? I can't remember. Where they jump off the building? Where they jump off the building at the very beginning and die. That was totally hilarious. Pineapple Express is another good one. But again, this casting with this gentleman, like, one of the things, like I said, they obviously change things from what they do in the comics. It's just something we've all kind of got to deal with. Or if you don't want to deal with it, you don't watch the movies. It's not too difficult a thing. Um, but again, I think this guy is a good actor. I think the story, obviously, with all the allegories made with the X-Men and everything, how it's not like direct. They're not direct references to anything politically or anything like that. You can go watch any of Stan Lee's interviews where he talks about those kinds of things. But the mere fact that they're, we knew they were gonna change it up, and I think adding good actors to these roles is the most important thing. And that, again, that doesn't always necessarily mean that they need to race change or gender swap any of these characters. And again, if you guys know me, I'm not one of the people who gets really upset about these kinds of things, as long as somebody comes in and does a good job. And then is it something that actually helps the story? Is it something that drives the story? Is it something that's necessary if you are going to do these kinds of things? For just, I mean, for actually just making them good, not just to go out there and do them for what seems to be, it seems to be like a lot of these companies, it seems to be like they would almost do these kinds of things just to kind of cause a controversy or a buzz around it. And I don't necessarily know that they do that on purpose, but at this point, I think some of these companies see just kind of the attention that it garners. So it almost seems like, and I'm not necessarily blaming any particular company for this, but it almost seems like they start to do it on purpose, like through the marketing of like. Dark Phoenix, when they were going through that, like you've seen all the trailers before, and then all of a sudden, like after Captain Marvel had been released, and just like some of the controversy surrounding that, and some of these other films that have been coming out, and then all of a sudden they released this trailer, like in the coming weeks, or coming, I don't even know if it was really a month out from when that movie was getting ready to premiere at the movie theater, where we've seen they pull out the little sound bite of Mystique saying, I don't know why we caught the X-Men, all the women in here, and all that kinds of stuff. And it seems like if you watch the movie, like that scene in the movie falls so flat, and it's not really what they present it to be in the trailer. So it's like actually misleading. You know what I mean? So it's like they actually took that and tried to capitalize on it just to get people talking, to get asses into seats. And I don't know. I mean, I guess that's what you got to kind of do when you're marketing a movie or anything like that. When you're trying to fill a movie theater to get people in there to watch it. But again, is it something that necessarily needs to be done? As we can see, like in a lot of cases, it'll hurt a film. Or to even help about it, by creating more buzz to talk about. So I don't know. I mean, what do you guys think about that? I mean, do you think some of these companies actually go out there and do some of these things on purpose? I mean, I kind of do. And whether it's a good thing or not, I mean, it's really hard to say, because as we can see, what it starts to cause is it starts to get everybody talking. Next thing you know, you see 20 different videos pop up on your subscription feed with people that are commentating on it. And, whether they're people who like some of these changes and enjoy some of these announcements, or whether it's people who don't. And all of a sudden, it seems like you've got everybody pushing your movie for you. You know what I mean? Like, they're out there talking and spreading the word about your movie for you. So, like, they don't necessarily have to go out and advertise these films at that point, really. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, okay, like, hey, we just do this, and like it just turns into a forest fire. You know what I mean? A grease fire turns into a forest fire, and that's what it kind of seems to be like. And it's not necessarily always a bad thing, because when you can see with like a lot of the speculation videos on the MCU, and with some of my favorite channels like Den of Nerds, War Stew, kind of culty, a lot of these channels who talk about these MCU theories and things like that, they're actually, just kind of helping advertise the movie, and just be like, people, ooh, hey, like this happens. Now I am talking about some of those who actually do some of their own speculation and not just reading a bunch of Reddit theories, because hell, anybody could do that. You know what I mean? Anybody can go read some pages off of Reddit, but it's actually taking those pages, those theories, and making sense of them, which is one thing I definitely like about one of my favorite channels, the Den of Nerds, where they hear and see all these clickbaity things out there. They're willing to go out there and sift through all that trash, to pick out the things that are noteworthy, and making sense of them, and again, they're doing the same thing as anybody else is. Whether you're talking positively about the movie, negatively about the movie, these companies have got people talking, and it's at this point it seems like a marketing ploy of them, and it seems to be working. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, but what do you guys think about that? Let me know down in the comments below. Miles Z, welcome to the stream, man. I was just talking about, this announcement that supposedly Giancarlo Esposito wants to be in the MCU, and he's going to be the next Magneto, and I'll look more into that story here, and maybe make mention of that tomorrow morning, because tomorrow morning I'll probably talk maybe a little bit more about just maybe go through some more of the comic books, or it's just a different subject tomorrow morning, since on Fridays I do the Trailer Park Live, where I go in and talk a lot more about things. It's in the evening, and it's usually a little more of a not PG show, so we can get a little more into it. You guys get to know me a little bit better. But yeah, today I'm going to be talking about some of the most quotable movies that we've enjoyed while we're growing up, whether it's as adults or anything like that. And as you can see in the thumbnail, and I did ask on Twitter, people if they had any of their favorite quotable movies. So let's go ahead and see if anybody got to answer some of that. Okay, here we go. Some of your most quotable movies. All right. Well, starting off, you can see like in in the thumbnail there, I put like 40-Year-Old Virgin, even the Three Amigos, and even Spaceballs, because to me these are some of the movies that I absolutely love. You know what? Hold on, give me just a second, folks. Okay, there we go. Sorry, just had some background noise going on there. But some of these movies are some of my favorite movies there is, and there's just so many, they're just so chock full of hilarious quotes. And you know, the one thing I remember having a conversation with somebody a while back, this has been some years ago. I was having a conversation with a friend. We were talking about Spaceballs. You know, Spaceballs, man, that movie is absolutely great. We can go through there and quote the whole movie. We could probably sit here and have a whole conversation, probably 90 minutes worth of conversation, talking, laughing, and making jokes about Spaceballs and just the movie quotes that come from that film. And you know, the question came up to us one time, is like that we were sitting there asking each other one time, is like, is Spaceballs really that great of a film? Because sometimes it seems like it's just more fun to actually talk about than to actually sit there and watch. Because I remember one of the last times I watched it, I sat there and instead of actually sitting there enjoying the movie more than not, I'm sitting there running through the quotes at the same time they're doing them. You know what I mean? So, you know, we were just kind of having that conversation about some of these kind of movies where it's like, man, you know, you go back and watch them, they almost don't even seem that good because they just seem like they're a little bit more fun to talk about and quote rather than actually sit there and enjoy the movie. And I thought it was a pretty funny thing because I sit there and I think about a lot of these movies and I feel the same way about it too. Like, even think about The Big Lebowski. The Big Lebowski, I absolutely love The Big Lebowski, but sometimes it seems like it's more fun to just sit there and talk about the movie, talk about some of the quotes and just some of the things, the different things about movies like this, rather than actually watching the movie. And that's funny. And I guess, you know, essentially that's kind of what we're all here for, is to talk about these movies and films. Is kind of the reason I started this channel and started even doing this show. But, you know, just because, you know, it just cracks me up because, you know, you go and rewatch some of these movies and you're like, yeah, you know, I noticed that I'm spending more time not actually invested in watching the movie more than just being silly while watching the movie. And you know, even like Pee Wee Herman, God, was that Pee Wee's Big Adventure? You know, I could, you know, throwing quotes out of there, out of that movie, just absolutely hilarious. But then by the time you watch the movie, it's like, okay, like, you know, did we beat it to death? You know, did we quote these movies into the ground? I don't know, man. But you know, either way, I guess they're all still classic films. Um, let's see. Miles Z says so many crazy rumors about the MCU casting, and then we all get surprised. It was like the Millie Bobby Brown rumor a few weeks ago that never came to anything. Right. And that's true. You know, we get a lot of those kind of casting rumors that don't come true. Now the thing is I do believe she was probably up for the role, and they probably just hadn't heard anything, and maybe she's actually even up for the role, for one of the roles in the movie, and maybe they just haven't made that announcement yet because they're not ready to. So, and she's, you know, pretty much, regardless, even if she has, she probably got her hands tied behind her back, with them saying, no, you can't, you know, don't talk about this to anybody. We can't let this out. We're not ready to let this out there yet. But maybe she's actually being considered for another movie that's actually hasn't been announced, coming up in the MCU as well. So that very could well be. Ludicrous Speed! Go! Yes, Spaceballs. Yeah, it's one of my absolute favorites. You know, and it's probably the one I question the most about whether how great it is as compared to how great it is to talk about. And again, I think Big Lebowski is one of those two. But although both of these movies I absolutely love and I enjoy watching them every single time. And some of these movies, you know, some of them aren't even always funny movies. Some of them are even movies. Well, like I got the 40-Year-Old Virgin on there. That's a funny one. But like Scarface. You know what I mean? I think just about everybody out there quotes Scarface, and heck, there's people out there who quote Scarface probably haven't ever even seen the movie. You know, it's just some of the funny stuff out there. Aggressively relaxing. Welcome to the stream. I quote Spaceballs at least once a day, but to be fair, I'm surrounded by assholes. Right? I mean, that's the thing. It helps to be surrounded by assholes to make quotes from that movie, especially through Dark Helmet quotes. But here, getting onto Twitter and some of the people I asked here. Let's see. some of the most quotable favorite quotable films. Fanzine says National Lampoon's Vacation, and that's an absolute that's true. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation is one of the all-time great films. That's one that's definitely, and that's another one that makes me question too. Is that movie as great as it is to talk about and just throw quotes from? Or is that, because that film is that great? But sometimes I think I have more fun just talking about the film and quoting the film rather than watching the film. It's so weird. It's such a weird phenomenon because do we do that with action movies? Do we put on a Bruce Lee movie and sit there and kung fu the whole time? Mocking the movie as opposed to watching it? No, not really. But and there's great quotes from that movie as well. But just kind of, I don't know. It just makes me think about those kind of things. But National Lampoon's Vacation is definitely one of my favorites. We got the bleeps, the sweeps, and the creeps. The what? The what? And the what? But yeah, Christmas Vacation is definitely a good one. And God, what are some of the one of my favorite quotes from National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation is right after Cousin Eddie steals Clark's boss and brings him to the house, and he's got him there after he's giving his speech, and he goes, "You ready to start kissing?" He's talking to the boss, nudging him. Oh, or yeah, what was that's a pretty big tree there, Griswold. Where are you gonna put that? Why don't you bend over and I'll show you? You got a lot of nerve talking to me like that. I wasn't talking to you. Just great stuff. Great stuff, man. National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation is definitely a good one. Um, and what do you say some of your guys' favorite quotes from that? Okay, what else he's got here? Superman the movie. Ooh, man, it's been so long since I've seen that one, but I'm sure that one is actually full of great quotes. Man, I haven't seen that forever. Of course, then he says Back to the Future. Back to the Future definitely has some great quotes in it. Yeah, they found me, Marty. The Libyans. Just some of the and sometimes I remember some of the most weird, obscure ones from movies. Boondock Saints. Oh man, I haven't watched that. Shit, I haven't watched that movie in a long time. I haven't watched that movie in a long time. The Boondock Saints. So yeah, if you guys have any favorite quotes from these movies, let me know. Nightmare on Elm Street. Yeah, I guess that one's got some quotes in there. Again, that's the one I haven't seen in a long time either. And you guys know, in case you guys don't follow me here, I'm not really huge into horror films, but definitely some of these classic movies are some of the ones that I like. Reanimator, man, I honestly haven't seen that probably since the '80s, like since I was like a little kid. The Reanimator, so I couldn't bring any quotes from that one. We could also uh, go just oh man, why all of a sudden forget the name of the movie I was getting ready to say. Um, but yeah, he says there's so many more. I've seen too many movies. Yeah, for real. And that's the thing is sometimes your head almost gets crowded with all of them, and you're just sitting there, it's funny too the way the brain works. Like the way we remember things. We remember certain things. Like but I remember for the longest time I could remember my locker combinations from school. You know what I mean? And it seems like maybe that's something that technology has maybe kind of dumbed down society in the fact that I used to know like everybody that I knew. I used to remember their phone number right off the top of my head. Now I can't even I can remember my wife's phone number, one of my good friends, a couple of my good friends, but I used to remember everybody's phone number. You know what I mean? Remember how that used to be? You used to remember everybody's phone number. Like you getting ready to call the skating rink, you'd be like, you knew the phone number to the skating rink. You knew the phone number to the skating rink. You call up, or even the movie theater to call up and get the prices. Or what movies were playing, the list of movies. You all used to remember these phone numbers, and now you're sitting there like, man, I couldn't tell you the phone number to 911 if you asked me. You know what I mean? That's how bad it's getting. Yeah, it starts to make me feel old. It starts to make me feel old. Um, um, Airplane is a great quotable movie as well. Yes, it is. Roger, huh? Yeah, Roger. What's your vector, Victor? Yes, that is another great one too as well. Airplane aggressively relaxing says, I have to admit, I watch Enter the Dragon and practice nunchucks at the same time. Do you do that at the same time? Multitasking is hard for some people to do, so I'm kind of interested in the answer on that. But you got to be careful with the nunchucks unless you got the practice ones that have the padding on there, man. That Bruce Lee, you get too into. I know how it is. I know how it is. You get too into that stuff, and next thing you know, you're too into it. You smack yourself upside the head with a nunchuck, or you're sitting there wearing your Spider-Man outfit, and you start jumping and flipping around the house, and land on your head, and it really hurts. You have to go see the chiropractor for a long time. Not that I've ever done that, but I do have a Spider-Man suit. Go watch Superman again. The presentation. Oh yeah. Well, and when I was growing up, Superman 1 and Superman 2 were some of my favorite movies. Some of my absolute favorite movies. Would you care to step outside? Yeah, some of my favorite movies that there were out there when I was a little kid. Like my sister, like she used to absolutely hate these movies because I used to play them over and over. Star Wars. I used to play the first Star Wars all the time. Superman and Superman 2. Man, I'm telling you, my sister probably hated the movies, but probably just as much as I hated Grease. Okay, when I was a kid. But I gotta tell you, for me now, I I love Grease, man. That movie is absolutely hilarious. It's like Hickey's from Kanicki. And that's another great one too. Grease and I think even Grease 2 probably has some as well. It's been a while since I've seen Grease 2, but Grease 1, man, that's an absolutely hilarious movie. Um, and full of great quotes to pull out as well. Let's see who else we got on here. We got Nerdy Blurb TV says Hot Rod, Pineapple Express, The Other Guys, Vegas Vacation, and Indiana Jones. Yeah, and all those are great too. Man, I haven't seen Vegas Vacation. I think I've only probably seen Vegas Vacation probably like two times ever. It's one of the ones I don't own. And yeah, I actually own European Vacation. Yeah. I said it. I admitted to it. I admitted to it. But you know what? To make up for that, I actually own Fletch, and Fletch lives. So take that. Indiana Jones. Yeah, Indiana Jones is a great one too. We named the dog Indiana. Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And Hot Rod again, man. I need to go back and watch that one. Pineapple Express is a great one. The other guy's Vegas Vacation. Drunk 3PO says Ace Ventura. Have you known now that I have the reflexes of a cat? Yeah, Ace Ventura is a great one as well. Woo! Do not go in there. That's a good one. And Friday, Friday, man, that one's full of great quotes too. There's nobody go in the bathroom for at least 45 minutes. Another one of my favorites from next Friday. Put some hot sauce on my burrito, baby. You look good to me. Um, I don't even know where he gets these little chants from, man. But yeah, that movie's funny. I got Superman the movie in 4K. Nice. I don't even have a 4K TV. Otherwise, I'd probably think about upgrading some of my equipment to do some of these things. So I could get like 4K, but then I gotta buy a 4K Blu-ray player and all that stuff. Ugh. I guess they're starting to do streaming in the 4K with the UHD and all that stuff, but I don't know, man. Like for some things, I'm one of those guys. I'm so willing to give in to the technology out there. Like when it comes to like the phones. Like I had the first iPhone. And went on from there. I'm on a Mac. We got when there was a brand new Mac when they had come out. I think it was like a 2011. We got. They had. I'm like, okay, well, we're gonna get this. Well, if we're gonna spend this, we might as well spend a little more and get this. Get the little one that's a little bit bigger, and all that kind of stuff. Like I don't know, because it seems like when I want to buy it complete. You know what I mean? But certain things I want to keep up with the technology, and like for me, I think because a lot of my own like Blu-rays, and a lot of them come with digital downloads and things like that. So I'm not really forced into a position where I have to go out and get the 4K. You know what I mean? Like I'm not quite there. I can still play my video games and they look great. I can still watch my movies and they look great. But going to like the 4K and all that stuff. Like I know like even 3D has been a thing, and what, I'm not really into 3D. I'm not really into 3D because even going to the movie theaters, A lot of the movies I go watch in the IMAX 3D and all that stuff if they're released and they're shot that way, especially because I like to see them, just to see if they're any good. Like, and to me, a lot of them really aren't worth it. IMAX definitely, but a lot of them really aren't worth it. When it comes to like the effects and everything they're doing in the movie. And as a matter of fact, I think probably the most beautiful movie I've seen in IMAX ever has got to be The Force Awakens. Like that movie was so beautiful in 3D on that big IMAX screen. Like I went and seen it. I think like two. I think I went and seen it two times in 3D on IMAX 3D. It might have been three times. And then I know I just definitely seen it once in standard. And like uh man, I'm telling like I was in tears in a couple of parts because it was so beautiful. Like I'm not even kidding. I'm not even kidding. Like I was literally in tears because it was so damn beautiful. But then how I knew was I went and watched the standard version at the theater, and I was like, this doesn't even feel like the same movie. Like it's not even it doesn't suck me into the movie quite the same, which is weird because like I said, most of the movies that I watch in 3D, they're not even really that great. Like they're shot for 3D and all that stuff, but they end up ultimately kind of disappointing me. But for me, that's one of my favorites that I ever seen in 3D, and I'm just not really big into the 3D. Um, let's see. Miles Lee says Xbox One X is probably the best investment I ever made. 4K 3D player. Oh, really? I did not know that. And I think I'm still stuck on an Xbox 360, bro. I still got my 360 because like I think I got my 360 like maybe about a brand new 360. I got the cool R2D2 one because I love R2D2, and but I got the cool R2D2 one that's all themed like it and everything, and I got that, and I don't even know if it was like later that year, and I knew they were getting ready to come out with some anyway, but they came out with a new one, and when it comes to like the consoles, I usually wait for the first generation to be over before I get one, just because sometimes they have all the bugs and all that stuff, but yeah, no, I would like to get one of those Xbox One X one of these days, upgrade that. But I know as soon as I buy one, it's going to be the next thing. It's going to be the next thing, and I'll be behind again. Um, Kung Pao, Master of Kung. Oh yeah, Master of the Fist is really quotable. Man, I haven't seen that one in a long time. Man, I've been neglecting myself because that is a great movie. Because that's what's funny is too because the guy who was in that movie, Steve Odenkirk, right? Because there's Bob Odenkirk, Steve Odenkirk. Yeah, he did like all the thumb wars and all that stuff, and that he has like the little talking tongue and all that stuff. Dude, that guy, man, he made some hilarious. He used to make some of those hilarious movies and stuff like that. Like I remember seeing like, God, what else was there aside from Thumb Wars? I mean, there was a lot. He did a lot of those like Thumb Wars movies and everything. Just yeah, that's another one of those great ones too. And like I said, sometimes it comes down to like, man, like this movie has so many great quotes in it. Like it's almost not even a joy to watch the movie anymore because I quote it so much, or because like I just question, is it really that great? Is it really that great? Because it's funny how that works. Funny how that works. Yes, wheel. Oh man, yeah, I haven't seen that in a long time. Aggressively Reaction says next Friday favorite quote: "Baby D knows all the newest snack cakes. This bitch got the bootlegs. I'm talking the 2000 snack cakes that ain't even come out yet." Yeah, yeah. Day Day, man. He was, and next Friday is one of those ones too that took time to grow on me. Because when I first watched Next Friday, I was sitting there kind of like, because the first one is so great. The first Friday is so great. It's one of those rare movies that comes out, just kind of like a Napoleon Dynamite, where, they shoot it for such a low budget, but the director knows what they're doing. The actors know what they're doing. They got this great script, and it's a really story-driven thing, and it almost instantly becomes a cult classic. And that's what Friday is. Friday is one of those movies like a Napoleon Dynamite out there where it's just chock full of great acting, great quotes, great story, great characters, great character progression, and just all of these different things. And next Friday, I remember when it first came out, I was kind of like this is kind of funny, but I don't know, it's not all that great. But then on subsequent watches, watching it over and just that, like, it really grew on me. I'm like, man, okay, like I think it's got more great quotes in it than the first Friday does. Honestly, like hilarious ones, like no more locked doors, count the green or get in between those titties. Yeah, 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 and I think yeah, next Friday, I think it probably is a little more quotable than the first Friday is, even though the first one is it's just a better film altogether for one. But yeah, it definitely has more quotes in it than the first Friday does. I think it does. Wayne's World is a great quotable movie. Swing. Oh yeah, yeah. I don't even own a gun. What am I gonna do? Yeah, or yeah, what am I gonna do with a gun rack? Yeah, that's a great one. Man, I haven't seen Wayne's World in a while. I need to actually buy Wayne's World so I can show that to my kids because probably the Austin Powers movies too. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, you're going to show your 10-year-old kids these movies? Yeah, I am. They're not even 10 years old. It's all right. I took them to Pulp Fiction, man. Took them to Pulp Fiction. They seen Deadpool. I talked about this yesterday. It's all good. It's all good. I don't think there anything that's too bad in them, but I mean, come on. Look at the world we live in these days, right? The trick to 3D is getting super drunk. Yeah, it could. Well, I mean, like, do you get drunk and go just not put on your glasses and see if you can see if it all comes in not blurry? Is that the fun in it? Because that could be. Um, yeah, imagine that. falls, was it? Falls from the silo, goes cross-eyed, gets kicked by a jackass, goes back to normal. Isn't that what? It's something like that on your uncle cousin Eddie. Oh man, funny stuff. Yeah, getting super drunk. From this day onward, you will all refer to me by by refer to me by the name Betty. Yeah. Oh man. Oh man. Planes, trains, and automobiles was a great. Oh man. And I actually watch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles about once a year. But you know what? That was one I actually forgot to watch last year on Thanksgiving. That was one I actually forgot. And yeah, that's a great one too. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, man. And I was talking about that the other day on my on one of my live streams here. Is John Candy, man. John Candy, dude. Like that was. And then you combine him with Steve Martin, dude. And then it's a road trip movie. You really can't get any. I mean, how is that's just like a formula right there. I mean, because you got John Candy, who's just such one of those great prolific actors, and again, is the things that he did when he was on screen. I mean, not only could he make a drama, not only could he be funny and still make it dramatic and things like that. I mean, even look at Uncle Buck. Some of the things in there, just how fun of a movie that is, and how great and like you don't really take him too seriously, but then when it's time to take him seriously, like you take him seriously. You know what I mean? And again, he's another one of those guys who, no matter what movie he's in, he seems to be John Candy in every movie. But he does the role. It's like he just brings himself for like he himself shines through the role no matter what it is. You know what I mean? There's just some people out there like that, and yeah, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles definitely another great one. You know what? Maybe I'm gonna see if I get a chance to watch that maybe this weekend or something, because I haven't watched. Like I said, I skipped a year on that one. I was gonna say they will see and hear worse things at school. Oh yeah, totally. And that's one of the things like with my kids. I always tell them. I've always told them, I'm like, I don't care that you're the smartest kid in school. I don't care that you're the best kid. I just want you to set a good example for all the other boys and girls out there. Just set a good example for them of what to do, what not what not to do. Just set a good example for them. You don't necessarily have to be a friend, but be friendly, And I always tell them, because my kids are all in karate class. Like if you see somebody being bullied, somebody being picked on, don't put up for it. It doesn't matter if it's your friend or not. There's no reason to put up with that. You know what I mean? And because I remember even when I was growing up as a kid, like. And that's something else that I think when it comes down to all these kinds of things is, because we all know that when kids get to school, they're around their friends, they're not at home, they're not with us. Kids are different. Our kids are different. And it's so funny when you get into some of these things, and like there's issues at school, and the parents like their kids are angels. Like me, I think my kids are good kids, and I've had numerous people tell me the exact same thing. So if somebody came to me and said something like completely out of the blue, like I wouldn't act like my kid's an angel, but there are certain things that I would know, like okay, like my kid wouldn't do that. I whatever you're saying right now, I know is bullshit. I know my kid wouldn't do that. So, and again, there are some things when if I heard them, I'd probably be like, I could see that because I know like one day in kindergarten, My oldest daughter was there, and they were doing some art project or something. And one of the little boys there in class, she hurt his feelings because they were making their art projects, and um, he was asking people, and hey, what do you think? Do you like it? And my daughter goes, I think it's ugly. And the kid got all butt hurt and everything. He started crying and all that stuff. And you know, God, was I can't remember if that was when we were there. Were we there at that? There was something like that happened. Something happened one time at one of the meetings where there was like a lot of the parents and everything there. I don't think it was that though. But she told this kid, she goes, it's ugly, and and I told her later, I'm like, look, sweetie, there's nothing wrong with being honest, because that's one thing I always told my kids: be honest. Don't be afraid to be honest. You got to tell the truth. I want you to, as long as you always tell me the truth, I won't be mad at the fact that you tell me the truth. I'll be more mad if you lie to me. And believe me, my kids don't want me to be mad, but I want them to be truthful. And so after that, I told my daughter, I'm like, look, sweetie, the thing is, you gotta be. There are times to be honest and times not to be, or just times to when you be, just maybe different ways to be honest. Like when the boy asks you about his art thing and whether you like it, and if you think it's ugly, just all you gotta do is tell him, I don't like it. It's not for me. But you know what? There's probably somebody out there who does like it. Something that's a little more critical, not just kind of like me. When I hear people just come out and say stuff like it sucks, like, yeah, oh, great. My daughter, my little 6-year-old daughter could give you that kind of review. It's just a childish thing. It's just juvenile. So when you say something, it sucks. And we can think of something a little bit better to say than that. Like, it sucks. Why? Well, I think it sucks because of this, not just it sucks. And I hate that because I've seen several people go out there and do that. Like doing movie reviews and stuff like that or whatnot, and they're like, it sucks. Come on, bro. Come on. Like I like you just for you if you ask me if you come out with something so simplistic, I pretty much take your credibility and it goes down to a zero. You have no credibility if you can just get off with something that easy, because at least have the reasons why you think it sucks. At least be critical here, not just at least critique it, not just it sucks. I don't know, but and that's one of the things. I always try to talk to these things about my kids anyway. Like, you got to give a little bit more. You just tell them like, I don't like it. I think it's ugly, but I can guarantee you, there's somebody out there who does like it. Something that's still kind of mean, but still telling them that it's nice too. Because you know what? That's the great thing about art is, it's subjective, and just because she doesn't like it doesn't mean that somebody else won't. And that's the beautiful thing about art. And whether that's like actual art, drawing, painting, things like that, or whether it's music or whether it's movies, some of these mediums that I love so much, not everything is for everybody, and not everything has to be for everybody, and that's the good thing. And it's just more of a way for me, you guys, if you guys follow me here on the channel enough, and hear what I say, it's more about being critical in a critical way, so where we can critique something and criticize it, and find a way to move forward with whatever, however we go about that. Like if it's something, that you just absolutely don't like, you don't have to beat the issue to death. You just got to state your piece and move on, and it never has to be the main topic of any discussion again after that, ever, really. But if you reference it or anything like that, hey, I mean, it's all good. But if you're essentially just saying the same things over and over again, it always seems kind of pointless. um Uh, I was gonna say, yeah, they were, I love that movie. Yeah, yeah, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles is a great one. It sucks driving. It sucks living in a world without John Candy. You know what? And that's true, man. I remember when he died. Like he's like one of those stars. Like he's one of those stars that when they die, you're like, man, like it actually hits you, and you don't even know these people, but this is one of those people, like when they pass away, like you're actually hurt, like you actually cry about it, you're actually hurt. Like when George Carlin died, dude, like when George Carlin died, dude, I was so disappointed because I think it wasn't even 6 months earlier we were in Las Vegas, and me and my friend, we were just there hanging out on Saturday, and we had the whole evening, and we're like, oh, George Carlin was playing, he was doing stand up right there that night, and we didn't go see it. Less than 6 months later, he's dead. And yeah, that's definitely one of those things. Yeah, I mean, it kind of sucks when thinking about that too. Like, man, like sometimes you think just like that. A perfect example. Sometimes I think what this world needs is just a good John Candy movie. That's what you need. It's a good John Candy movie. Um, yeah, he's definitely one of those. Alpha Proto says, and Alpha Proto, welcome to the stream. Micah D2. I've been sitting here talking to you guys. Welcome to the stream. Aggressively relaxing. I'm pretty sure I said hi. But again, welcome. Welcome. Thank you all for being here. My channel would not exist if, all of the Mel Brooks movies were super quotable. They are too. You know what? And I haven't even seen, and I know I've seen it when I was a kid, but I haven't even seen Blazing Saddles in forever. Like, as an adult, I probably haven't watched the movie all the way through. As an adult. Most of those viewings came when I was exposed to these movies as a child. With whether it was through my parents or uncles or cousins and things like that. Like as the other day I was talking about heavy metal. Probably not something that my parents would just go off and let me watch, but by the time they're asleep or they're not around, you slap in that videotape of heavy metal and you watch it. So yeah. But yeah, all his movies are definitely quotable. Like even God was Men in Tights, Men in Tights. My channel would not exist if it were not for Mel Brooks. True, and I understand what you're saying. Aggressively relaxing, because yeah, what you do is like a similar kind of thing. You're doing parody, and that's great. And a lot of people say that it's the greatest form of flattery. Mockery or an homage, I guess. And I don't know, is it? I think it is. It could be. Whether you're making fun of it a good way or a bad way, I kind of feel like, hey, it got your attention that much enough that you decided to go out there and mock it in whatever way you decide to. At least your kids are honest. Yeah, and that's one thing I always tell my kids. Be honest. Just be honest. I don't want to have to deal with lies or anything like that. Just at least be honest. I won't ever be mad at you for telling me the truth. I might be mad about the truth that you tell me, but I won't be mad about you. But if you ever tell me the truth, because if I ever find out you're lying about it, that's when I'm gonna be upset. Because for the most part, we've always raised them like hey, like we know you kids were we're reasonable, and we've never even really I've spanked my son a couple of times, but only in a sense where it got his attention and he knew exactly what was going on. He knew better. But for the most part, we've never spanked never spanked our kids. And you can go and see our kids, and because a lot of people say, oh, that's what's wrong with society these days, people haven't been spanking their kids. No, it's not that. Go look at my kids. Like I said, my kids have never been spanked. And they're great kids. They're respectful and things like that. Now, granted, I could get them. I do need to get them saying please and thank you more than they do. But other than that, they're great kids. And it has nothing to do with spankings. Now there are some kids out there, like, to me, I would feel this way about spanking is like, if they're little enough, they don't understand what their spanking is going to be. By the time they're old enough to understand what the spanking is and what you're spanking them for, it's already too late. You've already failed. You've already failed at some point to where you've actually had to spank them. And in the times that I've had to spank my son, that's exactly how I felt. I felt like I had failed, and that's why he was acting the way he was. And it's just corrective behavior. And you know what? Usually in the two times I've had to do it to him, and it was both for the same thing. The behavior comes up very, very, very rarely, and that's just mostly just him being a jackass and being mean to like his sisters, and he's the youngest one. I'm not just talking about just being mean, like being a turd, just being a baby about stuff, and but he understood each time that I spanked him. Like, he understood, which was weird because then he gets upset, he's crying, he's upset at me, but then I remember one night it happened right before he's getting ready to go to bed, and I was telling him to go to bed, and he was just acting that way. Gave him a spanking. He was crying. He was upset at me. He went to sleep that night. The next morning, I swear, he woke up. He was like, "Oh, Dad," he was so happy and everything. Like it worked. You know what I mean? Like, that worked. And that's because I got the point across. But again, like I said, sometimes when it comes down to it, if they're young enough, they won't get it. If they're old enough, you've already failed. So and I guess basically for me, the most of the time when people are spanking their kids, due to frustration. It's due to frustration, right? And whose fault is that ultimately? It's typically ours as a parent. Alpha Pro says, "Yeah, real critique and not just a rude comment." Yeah, and that's how I feel. Like it's great not to like something. I have no problem with people not liking stuff, but like other than just like it sucks, or even if it's the same issue, like beating the same old issue over and over. And the best example I can come up with that is The Last Jedi, because everybody and their mommy don't like that, and a lot of people do, and stuff like that. But it's great if you don't like it, fine. You've talked about it and things like that, but you don't have to beat the dead horse. It should never, after the initial conversation, it shouldn't ever have to be a topic of conversation again until, like, say you're talking about episode 9, and you want to talk about, okay, well, all of this stuff was bad in this movie, and here's what I'm hoping gets resurrected with episode 9. Now, even if they do these things, I'm still not going to be happy with what happened. They could retcon the hell out of everything, and I'm still not going to be happy with that movie, and it still makes me reluctant to ever jump on board for this next movie. Like a real critique, not just it sucks, like, yeah, like get a real critique, at least have a real good, strong, valid opinion for the things. And then again, to me, once you have that, there's no real need to talk about the same thing over and over. Aggressive reaction says it sucks. Well, thanks for watching, and don't forget to smash the like button and subscribe. Yes, right. It sucks. Yeah, and what's funny is I actually seen somebody here on YouTube that does like a lot of theory and speculation videos, and he does reviews. And the funny thing is because that's all the much he ever really talks about the movies. He's just saying, oh yeah, I went and saw this movie. Yeah, it was pretty good. This and that. Some of this stuff, and that's about it. It's just kind of talking about the movie, not really movie reviews or anything. But they went on Twitter instead of doing one on Facebook. They just came out and they're like, yeah, speaking of, I went and seen this weekend, and that's pretty much all it was. I didn't want to make this video on YouTube because I didn't think it would be very long. I just recently got out and seen X-Men Dark Phoenix, and you know what? It sucks. That's it. And I'm just like, all right, well, I don't follow your channel in the first place, bro, but this is probably exactly why I don't, because I know that you have nothing to add to any kind of conversation. Your point, while valid, it's inconsequential to anything else out there. It's just the most simplistic thing that you could ever say about something. It sucks. 19K Fox says, love the thumbnail, bro. Thank you. For, Forget it. My guess is this is the singing bush. Oh yeah, dude. I love that one. The whole singing bush. You're supposed to shoot up. We shot up. Yeah, that's a good one. That is a good the singing bush. Aggressive relaxing. To mock something, you have to know it. Yes, exactly. Exactly, and you almost have to love it too. You know what I mean? You almost have to love it, and that's to me like when people talk about words like love and hate. To me, these are both like extremes, and for me to ever even hate something, you have to have had loved it. I talked about this the other day on a show, and I probably will go into this again one of these days. But for me, in order for you to ever have to hate something, you have to have loved it at one point because it meant that much to you that whenever it did whatever it did to break your heart, it actually hurt you that inside that much. And people get that way over movies and stuff, I'm sure. I think we've seen that. But yeah, love, hate, thin line, definitely there. Definitely both. To me, love and hate are essentially the same thing, just they're on the opposite side of the line. There really is no when it comes to those kinds of things, like I said, they're both extremes. They're both extremes, so we got to be careful how we hand out our love and how we hand out our hate, and how we handle them. 19K Fox says, "Go point. Some some kids don't respond to spanking. Sometimes taking away toys works, or maybe a stern talking to. Each kid is different. Yeah, and that's the thing. And see, and for me, the one thing that we always did with our kids, and the one thing I do with a lot of kids, because I've dealt with other people's kids too, is in the same sense as I don't need to spank somebody. You know what? Like, first of all, I'll sit there and, ask them a series of questions to make sure that they know and understand what I'm saying. And then explain things to them. Explain why you shouldn't be why you shouldn't be hitting your brother or your sister, or why you shouldn't be throwing the ball in the house, or why you should, just explain the reasons why, because the one thing I never did with my kids, and I always said when they were little, like, one thing I'm never going to do is talk to them like they're stupid, and I'm never going to talk to them like they're babies. None of that goo goo gaga, all that bull crap. Never done none of that. I always talk to them, even when they were first born, when they were babies. Everything I said to them, I always talked to them like they knew exactly what I was saying, because that's kind of my expectation, is for them to know exactly what I'm saying. They need to know, they need to understand, they need to comprehend the things they're being told. And when they don't, I will sit there and explain it to them. And again, to me, I guess I always kind of took the parenting for me as, how did I feel as a child when I was growing up? Some of the disciplinary actions taken against me and things like that. How did I feel? And not only how did I feel, but not only how do I feel, but what would I have done given a certain situation? Thinking and just trying to keep in perspective the mind that I was as a child and how they may be. And again, yeah, you're right. It's each kid is different. Each just the same way as each individual is different. And I think for me, one thing though is I spent a lot of times working. I was working in retail, and I was actually working my way up in management and all that stuff. And it's one of the things I miss about having that regular job is getting to work with a diverse set of people, because there's all the different personalities and things like that, and dealing with those personalities and people, because they always clash, they always end up coming to clash, is dealing with that. And just getting people to see and understand things like that, like out of their, maybe that they're not thinking about, just things like that. I guess you could say like personal development, corrective behavior and things like that. Working with people, managing people, something I always like doing. And yeah, and that's one of the things, and not everybody's good at it. And then that's the thing about having jobs, having managers and things like that, is not everybody's good at it. I'm sure we've all had a bad manager, or we've probably had a great manager who couldn't talk to people, who just weren't good with handling different personalities, different people and things like that. And that's one of the things I've always been good at, is dealing with individuals. Dealing with individuals, because I remember when I used to have to work retail, I was in charge of like this certain amount of people. Like, I think at this one point I had 7 or 8 people that I was directly in charge of, and pretty much saw to it their day-to-day lives. And you got to remember, when you're in these situations, we are basically with these people that we work with more than we are with our families. Because if you go to work, if you work a full-time job, you're working 8 hours a day plus your 1 hour lunch break or half-hour lunch break. So that's 8 to 9 hours out of your day that you're spending at work with these people, and possibly even more depending on where you live at. Because some people work 4 10-hour shifts, and then you get their 40 hours a week and stuff like that. Just different things like that. But the thing is you're ultimately with these people more than you are with your family. More than you are with your loved ones. Because if you count, those 9 hours out of the day, plus say you just sleep an average of 6 to 7 hours, you're already looking at like 15 hours of your day, and you only got 9 hours in between that. You got time to take where you commute back and forth to work, to time when you may not be around them, and all these kinds of things. Essentially, you're around these people more than you are anybody else. So you got to build these relationships, and that's what it is. And I think a lot of people always seem to forget these things. Like, especially at a job, you're an asshole to somebody one day, man. You got to come back and face them the next day too. It's not like you're not ever going to see them again. These are the things that that you got to know when you're in those types of situations. And I used to like to deal with that kind of stuff, because I like the managing, like with the personalities and communication between people. It's one of my actual specialties. Actually, was when I was working there, was building teams, promoting, encouraging teamwork, promoting teamwork, teaching people how to work together, and then leadership skills. Learning to manage those different personalities, and also walking that fine line. Because a lot of people always seem to forget this when they're in these types of situations, that just because you're a manager or something, you have the authority, but that doesn't mean you have the respect. You got to have the respect of your people in order for the authority to be any good, because the respect for authority only goes so far. It only goes so far. Like, most of these people, they might respect the authority that you have, because like, oh well, this person can get me in a load of trouble. They might respect your position and the effect and your authority, but they don't respect you. And that's one of the ultimate things that a lot of people, I think, forget to take into account, is you need to have that personal credibility, that be able to know them on a level where they respect you. And that's one of the things, like I said, where I used to work at, we and it's a matter of perspective, but physically we worked the hardest in the store. We were unloading trucks, and every single thing that came off of that truck, everything in the store went through our hands first. We handled everything. So when I was in charge of these things, I always told managers, don't come back there and mess with my people. Let me talk to them. I will handle it. And they're like, oh well, and I'm like, I'm not saying anything other than just please don't talk to my people, because what's going to happen is you're going to go back there, you're going to say something because you want some work done, or something's going to happen, like you need something, you're going to go back there with an expectation, you're going to go back there and be a jerk, and then I'm going to have to go back and clean up the mess that you make because you're being a jerk, because they don't respect you. They respect me because I'm back there with them every day. I'm working with them. I know my stuff. They know I know my stuff. They respect me for that. They know that I can come back here and work circles around them, and they know that you can't do that, so they don't respect you. They respect your position, and just some of those things that I really kind of miss, dealing with those kinds of things. But yeah, and just managing personality. So yeah, each person is ultimately different. I'm a super positive person, but Luke Skywalker is a coward, and Han Solo is a deadbeat dad. Nib Nub is a ride or die fucking G. Yeah, I don't know, even back in the days, watching Luke Skywalker, I always kind of thought like, Luke, you seem a little bit too whiny for me, Luke. He always seemed a little bit too whiny. Not that he wasn't a badass or anything. He went and learned the ways of the Force and all that stuff and became a Jedi. But I always thought he was a little bit whiny, even as a kid. Even as a kid. And Solo, yeah, Han Solo definitely is a deadbeat dad, bro. I'm totally there with you. It's like one of these people that you see on, not that I watched the Dr. Phil show, but it's like these people that you see on Dr. Phil that just wants Dr. Phil to take over their kids and say, here, you take care of them and see what they do. You send them into this camp. It's like, well, you can't take care of your kids, so we got to do it. So I'm going to leave him with Luke Skywalker. I'm going to leave him with Luke Skywalker and let Luke raise him. My dad has talked to me about his regrets and mistakes he feels he made when raising me and my siblings. I find it extremely helpful, and it makes me a better father. And it does. It's something, definitely some good conversations. You're lucky to have your father around to have those kind of conversations with. I unfortunately lost my father when I was about 20 years old. So, yeah, and I wish he was there constantly. Not only just to talk to and get advice from, because he had the best advice in the world. I mean, my dad, he knew everything, and he was right about everything. Isn't that weird to say? Isn't that weird to say? There might have been a couple of things he was wrong about, but yeah, he was a great role model. People always talk about, these things, in these movies and all this stuff. Oh, these people, these kids, looking up to these people as the role models and this and that, and they're heroes. You know what? No, like, for me, they were always inspiration. These actors, these roles they do, these heroes in these movies and things like that. But you know what? My hero was always my father. You know what I mean? My hero was always my father. He's always the person that I looked up to. He's the one that I idolized, that I strived more to be like every day. Not these characters in these movies. You know what I mean? Not these actors, not these singers. Like I said, they're inspiration for me. But ultimately, I know that in the long run, these people are just human. They make mistakes. They're probably going to say things that I don't like. They probably do things that I don't like, things that I don't agree with. So they're definitely inspirations, but by no means are they ever my hero, man. And definitely, I do wish my father was still here to have those conversations with. Sometimes I feel like he's still there, though. You know what I mean? He still lives through me. I am my father, essentially, because he instilled me with his values and his morals and things like that, and did the best he could. And, I'm not trying to say like I'm some great person, but I think my parents did a damn good job, and I think many people out there would agree. And the only thing I can do is try to honor him by being the best father that I can for my kids, and just trying to do as good for my kids as they did for me, because I honestly did have the best parents in the world. I don't think I can ever live up to the things that they did for me when I was a child, or be as good of a parent as they can be, but I can only do my best to make them proud, and by trying to be the best parent that I can. And I do, like I said, I wish my father was still around to have those conversations with, but not only that, just so he could be around to see his grandkids and love them, because I know that he would love them to death. I know he would love my kids to death, and even just thinking about it, just kind of starts to make me a little emotional here. I'm sorry to hear about your father. Yeah, I mean it happens, you know, and that's the other thing ultimately, and that's something I always tell people when it comes when they lose loved ones and things like that. Is, you know, like no matter what way we go, no matter what way we die, no matter, you know, whether it's something horrific, whether it's a tragic accident or anything like that, is or whether it's just of natural causes, is we all die. You know, death, it's a natural part of life. There's nothing we can ever do about it. And no amount of words is ever going to make you feel better when somebody dies. You know, there's doesn't matter what anybody says. There's not really a thing you can do. The best thing that we can do is be ourselves, you know, and try to, you know, and be there for our friends if it's our friend that lost somebody, you know, a friend or our loved one if they lost somebody, and if they're there for us, I mean, the best we could do is communicate with them and let them know that we're all right, and just let them know how we're feeling. Um, but again, you know, like I said, and that's, you know, I think these days I get less and less upset about death when it comes to things like that, because that's how I feel about it. It's like we're all gonna go someday, you know. I don't. It's not that I want to see people go. It's not that I enjoy seeing people die. It's just. You know, it's just something I have to do for myself, so I don't have to. Not that I don't want to grieve, because we all go through grieving. Grieving is a process, but then just letting it not letting it affect my life in the way that I see so many people do it. You know, I mean, you see it get so many people down in so many like bad ways, and it's not a bad thing always, but you know, you see some people. I mean, it really just does have a very profound effect on their lives in a negative way, and that's one of the things I don't want to let happen. And you know, I just try to keep things in perspective in that way. I lost my father when I was 4. My mom remarried 2 years later, and they're still together today. I'm blessed. Got to try to pass that blessing on, and that's the hard part. It is, man. It is. And you know, sometimes, you know, like you know, people always talk about single parent homes and this and that, and how they're unlikely to be bad kids and all that stuff. You know what? I've some of the kids I've seen from some of the single parent homes of people that I know personally. Some of these people are the best people out there in the world, and some of them make the best damn parents out there. Um, and there's a whole lot of reasons that go into that. Aggressively relaxing says, well said about dads. Made me think of possible episode 9 trailer movie quotes. No one's ever really gone, right? Yeah, for real. And I don't feel that they are. I don't feel that they are. I mean, I think they do live through us in a way. Um, be that the way they raised us, you know, be that if it's just your subconscious talking to you, you know, that subconscious came from somewhere, and chances are it was probably the people who were nearest and dearest and closest to you as during those influential times in your lives. But that's all I have for this video today, folks. Thank you all so much for tuning into the Second Street Marvel and some movie talk. And I guess we talked a little bit about movies, and then we got a little bit personal there for the last leg of the show. But again, thank you all so much for being here. Now, in case you're not already, please make sure you're subscribed. Click the little bell and all of that good stuff. I do live shows. I do these live streams every morning. I've been doing them in the mornings here throughout the week, and I also do the Trailer Park Live every single Friday night at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, where I go over some of the comic books that I read for the week, and then I get in and talk about more of these kinds of things that we were just talking about right now. And it's always a good time every single time you guys show up. You guys are the ones who make this show. I mean, without you guys being here, I'm just a guy sitting here talking to his computer, flapping his gums. But that's okay, because I'm going to do it just the same whether you're here or not. So, you know what? You might as well show up. You might as well share this video with a friend. You might as well give it a like. You might as well leave your comments down in the comments below and let me know how you're feeling, because that's the one thing that I always like. You know, whether you agree with me or disagree with me on an issue or anything like that, I want to hear your input. You guys are kind of what help feed me. I like to keep, like I said, I like to keep my eyes open and my ears open to others, people's thoughts and opinions. So again, thank you all so much for being here. You all have a great rest of your day. Have a great rest of your week, and we'll see you in the next video. Later.